Hello, everyone. Welcome to another fine edition of TYT Sports. Ben and Rick, the originals, maybe you could say. Have you heard of Michael Sam? Well, now you certainly have. He is the co-SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He has come out and will possibly be the first openly gay NFL player. Humongous news. He is 6'2", 260 pounds. He had some pretty solid numbers when he came out of Missouri. He obviously is coming out of Missouri and going into the NFL draft. A few of his quotes via ESPN.com, and then we will get into Ben's take. I was kind of scared, even though they already knew. Just to see their reaction was awesome, as in his teammates. They supported me from day one. I couldn't have better teammates. I'm telling you what, I wouldn't have the strength to do this today if I didn't know how much support they'd given me this past semester. There have been a lot of controversial quotes, not quotes, but tweets from those who are criticizing this bill, which we will get into in a moment, mainly Patrick Creighton and a few player personnel figures in the NFL who went unnamed. Another quote from Michael Sam: I understand how big this is. It's a big deal. No one has done this before. And it's kind of a nervous process, but I know what I want to be. I want to be a football player in the NFL. I didn't realize how many people actually knew, and I was afraid that someone would tell or leak something out about me. I want to own my truth. No one else should tell my story but me. I greatly respect that. I mean, people will talk about the stereotype of gays being in the locker room. To me, I think that's a little stereotype that gay people are predators. It's just very offensive.
People are funny. I mean,
why?
Let me put that quote up again real quick. Because, it starts with, to me, I think that's a little stereotype that gay people are predators. I mean, a stereotype that gay people are predators, it's not a little stereotyped. I mean, it's a giant, it's a horrendous thing to think. And then he realizes it, and he's like, it's just very offensive. Like, at first I read the first part of that quote, and I'm like, my guy is being tepid.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's like he talked himself up to, I just don't think it's right that gays are seen as predators in the locker room. We're not that bad at all. It's fucking ridiculous.
Well, I mean, don't you think he's trying to, downplay how harsh?
No, it's funny. It's funny.
Okay, I got it. I understand.
You told me right before we started this segment that CBS had dropped Michael Sam in the mock draft.
Kurt Popejoy tweeted this out.
I found the story.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
So he dropped from 90 to 160. He had a 70-point drop in the mock draft.
Right after the announcement.
Yeah, So I don't know if they were going to have that. The guy who puts this together, a guy named Rob Rang, he works for NFLDraftScout.com, and he's CBS Sports' main draft guy.
Okay.
Right? He's the Mel Kiper of CBS Sports.
All right.
Except slightly less famous. Rang,
nice jab.
He says that NFL Draft Scout has Sam as the 110th ranked prospect, which is about a third or fourth, and says Sam's announcement will affect his draft stock, but that isn't the only reason for the big drop. And he points out that Sam wasn't the only player to see his ranking significantly change. An initial drop to 160 from 90 on Monday morning was part of a comprehensive adjustment in the rankings leading up to next week's scouting combine that generated movement among.
What comprehensive adjustment?
You're telling me that the day the first player in the history of the NFL
so ridiculous
comes out to say he's gay, that's going to be drafted, and that morning you decide to drop him 70 spots?
There was a comprehensive adjustment throughout this entire process that dropped him 60 points, 60 selections.
That is such horseshit. I mean, are you kidding me? You might lose your job. Just don't. First of all, if you're going to have an update that day, don't have it. You know what? We're not.
Don't have what? What do you mean?
If you were going to update the rankings today anyway, don't. Wait a week.
Okay.
Just delay it.
Yeah.
Delay it. Yeah. And obviously, this guy is not necessarily saying this is where he. I mean, he is. Well, I don't know. Are they reflecting the way it should go or the way it might go? I mean, in a mock draft, a mock is might, but I mean, NFL Draft Scout dropped him 70 points. That's a scouting service more than a mock draft, right? There's a difference.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think Johnny Manziel's the number one player, but they still think he might go number one. Those are two different assessments. Mm-hmm. So anyway, of course they're related. And this obsession about the locker room, man, first of all, there's so many parts about this. I guess everyone could acknowledge without us seeming like we're total idiots that
Well, we are, though.
every
We should
player
admit that
must
first.
know they've played with gay players. I mean, you have to be completely, wildly ignorant
yeah.
to not recognize that you've played with a gay player.
Yeah.
You know, Patrick Creighton, former Cowboy receiver who made a fool of himself
Yeah,
yesterday.
we'll get into that in a moment.
But, you know, even he acknowledges, hey, I guess they were gay, they just were in the closet and that's where they belong.
Mm-hmm.
So, on one hand, when you talk about locker room disruption, you have to presume, okay, I've played with gay players and that wasn't a problem before. Now that we know, will that be a problem? So the problem only comes down to knowing that a guy is gay and what big a difference that makes. Then it presumes that what? That, like, great teams throughout history, the New York Yankees in 1977, 78, the 1972 through 74 Oakland A's, the Boston Red Sox throughout most of their history, not the World Series teams, but good teams, and the 25 guys, 25 cabs was the expression about the late 80s
yeah.
Red Sox. There have been a litany of really successful sports teams that didn't hang out or like each other. It makes no difference. Quarterback can throw to a receiver he hates.
Great point.
He can throw 100 passes to a receiver he hates. Yeah. I don't think a lot of those quarterbacks really like Terrell Owens. I got to be honest. You know?
Well, they appreciated his talent, but they hated him as a person, probably.
Right. And here, you know, if Michael Sam could play and he's the co-defensive player of the year in the SEC, that stuff doesn't always translate to the pros. We know that we see guys who don't do much in college and are late draft picks turn out to be dynamite pros, and
well,
guys
like that Richard Sherman fella, that
like
Malcolm
Richard Sherman.
Smith guy,
right? And then guys who although he was a pretty good college player, he just didn't seem to score well. But you know, NFL is harder to judge, and just because you got a lot of sacks in these crazy, weird offenses in college doesn't mean that you'll be able to deliver that kind of thing in the
actually,
NFL.
one of the scouts, not to interrupt you, actually said his numbers are inflated. Like his numbers are not that good because they came in garbage time or they came against weak opponents.
Yeah, right.
He said like 6 of his 9.5 sacks came against shit opponents in garbage time.
Yeah, so that's like when Missouri, who scored a lot of points in that Gary Pinkel system, so they score a lot of points.
Good
they
name,
got
Gary
big
Pinkel.
good name. They got big leads, and the bottom of the SEC, for all everybody talks about great, is horrible. You know, top to bottom, it's not the best conference. Top, it's the best conference.
You really think, though, if they were to put one of the bottom teams in the SEC in the Big Ten, that they would not succeed?
No, I don't think they'd succeed at all, and I think they might not win in the Pac-12 too. I mean, you know, top to bottom.
Pac-12 is getting much better.
So, like, but anyway, that's to say, look, he's the co-defensive player of the year. If it were all in garbage time, if he didn't impact a game, I'm doubting people vote for him.
Sure.
So, but we don't know. The important thing is that he gets an opportunity to be picked where he ought to be picked.
Do you think he will? Do you think he will get drafted, or do you think he'll go undrafted?
Well, what's interesting is that, I think he'll get drafted. I think because they say he gets drafted, and all you need is one team not to be silly, right? Mm-hmm. One sort of thoughtful general manager, coach system. They don't even have to be that thoughtful. They just have to be normal. But if this guy ought to be, let's say they were thinking 3, 4, 5. Let's take the middle and say he was headed for a 4th round pick.
I was thinking 5th, but okay.
So if he's his 4th round pick, if he's 90 to 100, that's right in the beginning of the 4th round. So we'll say somewhere in the middle of the 4th round he was going to get picked. If you're that team that likes him and was looking at him in the 4th round because you thought that's where he should go, but you know there's a good chance that no one else is going to take him, then he's going to drop because you think just on tactically, you don't have to waste that 4th round pick. You could get him in 6, maybe at least 5, so you take somebody else. So that cost him a round right there, unless somebody jumps in right afterwards, But you get 2 or 3 teams interested in him, then he's okay.
But you're very confident he will get selected.
Oh, I'm not confident at all.
Oh, you're not?
I think that he'll get selected. But obviously he's got to perform at the combines, and not everyone who criticizes him at the combines will be criticizing him because they're a closet bigot and they don't even realize it, which a lot of these guys don't. They just think they're, you're going to hear a lot of, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
It's just a comprehensive review. I'm just being honest.
What will be interesting to me is if he puts up the numbers at the combine. Now, look, the combine has been seen to be totally flawed because, his 40 time isn't good. His high jump his vertical isn't that great. Yet those athletes are doing just fine in the NFL. If he will move up or down or stay where he is, even if his numbers are pretty good.